on these cars. You don't have a lot of tire under. You've got to be smooth.
Right.
And you're one of those guys that you can get the car into the corner, and the car will stay at that same angle all the way through the corner, and roll it through and get the car.
I think the time with the crate motor in the late model did a lot of good on that.
Sure.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing running a crate motor in that late model. When I raced the crate motor in the late model class that whole year, I had only two finishes out of the top 10 that whole year, racing them big outlaw guys, and that one win.
Yep.
And you just got to drive them to where they're just right on the edge of spinning the tire and not spinning the tire. It's you got to use every bit you can.
Is anybody in your group going to attend that Shaw school?
I'm thinking about it.
Are you? Yeah.
And
Rod McCombs did that last year. He was one of them that went
Yeah.
to that. And he said he learned a ton.
Right.
We've talked to several guys that attended that
We have.
class. That actually, there was 2 champions that came out of that class, and several guys got wins. I mean, there was
Everybody says it's well worth the investment. It's a wise investment.
It really is.
I was just talking to Jim Schofield about that a little while ago. His son Eric's going to start racing the modified, and we were he's right behind us, and we were actually talking about going to that class. And I think we're both going to go. So
Right on.
It's going to be the best investment you've made in your racing program in a long time.
Well, it truly is an investment. You talk to the people that have been there, and they say, "Man, I can't believe how much I learned," or "I can't believe how much I didn't know."
Well,
guys
guys
you're
like
talking
me,
to Kevin Shaw and Brooks. I mean, those guys are.
We
they're on
actually
their
saw
game.
the results of the guys that took the class last year.
Yes,
I mean,
and there was
we saw
20.
results.
What they say, 22 guys that attended.
20 or 22.
22.
Yeah.
I miss.
Well, the biggest thing I heard about that class is you get stuck in a rut all year long. You're thinking you're doing the right thing, and you think you're going in the right direction, and all of a sudden, wow, somebody's been doing this that many times.
Yeah.
Gives you a little pointer, and you think you're going the right way, but you're not. You're going to be doing something wrong. And guys like me, we're old and grumpy and getting stuck into a certain way, and and it kind of helps us out. So that's kind of why I'm going. I think I just need a little tune-up to kind of make sure I'm going in the right direction with my stuff. So,
Never too old to learn.
Absolutely not.
That is absolutely true, and I know that I've known Steve a long time, and Steve is a reader. He reads setup books a lot, and I remember, in fact, I borrowed a couple setup books from Steve, and he says, "Here, read these." So I read them, and
You did read them.
I did read them. And Steve's like, "Hey,
Did you
got
give them
those
back?
books? You got those books?"
Yeah,
And
did you give them back?
He's read these books about 30 times. You got those books? You got those books? I need to look at and I'm thinking, man, I've had these books like 2 weeks. I haven't read them all yet, but I better get his books back to Steve.
Yeah. We were studying some aero stuff here the last couple of days. Len Waterman was showing me some. He's going back to school, and we had a big part of the program. He was showing me about aero on dirt late models. You can go on the internet and find a bunch of that stuff, and it's pretty interesting. We're doing stuff wrong around here.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because earlier today the Moxie crew was down here talking to Darren Koffel about his XR1 rocket.
Right.
And he said that he'd been talking with Bobby Pierce, and he says, you know what? Aero is so much on these cars. He said exactly what you just said. We've been doing it wrong the whole time.
We looked at some models on there, and it showed cars like we run. 80% of us run it at the track, and we're doing stuff wrong to the point where the air is going the wrong direction off the back of the spoiler. It's not going past the car. It's going underneath.
It's curling
the car.
up underneath it.
It is. And I don't know how we can change a lot of that because of our rule situations, but there's a few little things you can do to help that out. I'm not going to let them out over here, but
Right.
you're on your own if you want to find them. But I'm getting some help from some other people, and I think we're going to do some changing on a few things that might help us out.
And it's interesting because a lot of people don't realize, and I think you learn if you're really serious about racing and you start reading about aero, which I've done a little bit of that. People don't realize air. Like, you see the air when they do the smoke test in a wind tunnel. You see the smoke flowing up over the car.
Right.
It looks like it's flowing a nice, pretty little straight line. That's not how air works. It
No.
flows. It tumbles. Air actually tumbles much like an ocean wave. It's tumbling the whole time, so it's packing itself on top of that car. Okay, if it's tumbling and it goes over that rear spoiler, it's actually doing what Steve said. It actually curls up under the car and creates lift.
Right.
Yeah, and
I will tell you one thing. A fuel cell is a big deal on a race car.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it
A lot
is.
more
How
than
and
people
where it's
think.
placed.
It's not just for safety. You got to figure out how to make it work for the car.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there for a long time, people thought on a dirt track you weren't going fast enough for air to matter. And
Those
the
people
big sideboards
are
proved them wrong.
wrong.
You know?
Right,
And it's progressed ever since.
Wedge
It's-
noses
It's
and-
fun to watch how it progresses.
Well, and if air didn't make that much of a difference, why did IMCA bring back the 2-inch blade?
Yeah. Why are we taking off 2 inches of spoiler and
Right.
it's blah blah blah.
right. Well, you look at NASCAR stuff, man. They got their hands full right now.
No
But
kidding.
Oh my God.
That's a whole nother show, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Come back next week for that one. Come back next week for that show.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, there you go.
no, there's not going to be a show on that. No.
Kyle and Joey show.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I am going to try to do something different this year. I'm going to try to put my stuff a little bit more ahead of the line of cars to get worked on. My cars usually get worked on Saturday morning.
That's true.
Friday night. 'Cause
That's
I've got
true.
so many people I take care of. But that's how I pay for my racing. But I'm going to try to put my stuff ahead of the game, get my stuff done first. See if we can do a little bit better.
So when you said that the late model wasn't ready because the body and that absolutely did not surprise me. If you follow Steve on Facebook, you know there's always somebody else's car in his shop being built or maintained, and he does all that first. And
There's three right there right now, and the ones that are at the show were there before. So
yeah, and
yeah.
knowing Steve as long as I have, that doesn't surprise me. He's always, he takes his work serious. He's a hell of a fabricator. The guy can build anything, and his body work is second to none.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Winkler's car. Look
Never
at-
heard a bad word about the craftsmanship.
Right, and that's
Steve.
just he takes his stuff serious,
Yep.
and when he gets to welding and building stuff, I mean it's right or it's not.
sheet metal's phenomenal.
Well, I
you do a
appreciate
great
that,
job.
guys. I take a lot of pride in what I do, and I think Brian
shows.
Winkler's car
That shows.
is a good rendition of,
Yes.
cars from the past.
Yes,
you know?
it is.
Yes, it is.
That car
No
is. I
doubt.
think we've talked more about that car at the show than any other car, really.
Yeah,
It's the one I stare at all the time during the interviews.
Oh man,
it's pretty. It's pretty cool. I could do something like that.
yeah.
And I wanted to go a little farther, but he wouldn't let me. So we could have went a little bit farther with the.
Next year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens for next year.
Are we talking about
There's
the
gonna be a
deck?
bunch of them like that next year.
Something to do with the deck?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
yeah. There's a lot of there. Actually, I should show you the picture I had at home. It was quite a bit different what we ended up with. So
Well, you know what? The final product is absolutely awesome. It's been something that everybody that we've talked to has talked about. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a great
I
piece.
think Brian's going to do good this year. I hope I didn't just blow it for him, but we've changed the back of the car, fixed some problems he had with the back of the car. He's getting a new motor, so he's
getting something faster than what he had last year.
He is.
Oh my gosh, he's
He
going to be
is.
fast in that Super Sport class.
He's
Tell us about that.
He didn't mention that in the interview.
Yeah, well, cat's out of the bag now. Sorry
Yeah.
about that, but he actually had some problems in the rear end of that car that actually broke the rear end housing. We had a bird cage that was locked up solid. So if you
He
notice
did
that
mention
car
that.
pushing the last couple races, yeah, he didn't catch that. So
Yeah.
it was locked up solid. But yeah, it should be. That's my old car. Right?
I do know that. Yeah.
That's my old GRT
Yeah.
from 2000.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
he has done well. He's done well in that car. I mean, look
Yeah,
what he
he
did
sure
last
has.
year. We were talking about it. He came on that second half of the season, and he nearly won the title.
Yeah, he was 12 points away.
Yeah, it was about 12 points. Yep.
Well, you guys I talk about working on everybody else's cars first. Stuff like that makes me look good, makes me feel good. If I don't do so good in my car, somebody else in one of the cars I work on does, that's just about as good as me winning a race.
Well, I think that's why you've got so many customers, Steve. I mean, really, craftsmanship is craftsmanship, and when it's done right, and the result is what it is with you, yeah, that's why you've got the loyal customers that keep bringing their cars back to you because they know, hey, I can count on my stuff being right and being safe.
Well, I do my best.
And
So,
you do a good job. So, man, double duty, late model modified, cancer research. You've got a big season coming up.
I got my plate full, don't I?
Yes, you do, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
No doubt.
And then I got work on top of that. I got a 60-hour-a-week job sometimes, and
Steve sleeps about 4 to 5 hours a day. This is a fact. He sleeps about 4 to 5
I
hours
can't
a
do
day.
that.
went to bed last night at 3. Got up at about 7:30 this morning.
This is a normal. This
That's
is a normal schedule.
I usually go to bed about 1, get up at 5. Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
I can't either, and I'm not as vintage as some
you
people.
are old.
I love it, but I am
It's
looking.
probably not the best thing I do, but that's just I got to drive, and that's what I do. If I sleep any longer, I feel like I'm not getting anything accomplished.
Steve is always on the go, whether it's working on the cars or at work. But he's
Andrea's home in bed by 8 o'clock.
sleeping
I'm
all
out in the
snuggled.
shop, out working, banging on stuff for a couple hours, come in and go to bed. And she works hard too. She's just got a whole different type of job than I have. So.
Yeah, her job tests her patience.
Yeah, she's a teacher, man. That's something
hard.
I would not want to do. I think I would probably
Oh.
lose my mind on something like that.
Overworked and underappreciated for sure.
She is
Absolutely.
very, she doesn't teach in a classroom anymore. So she's a charter school teacher now. So the appreciation part's a little different than being a regular school teacher. But when she taught in a classroom every day,
Oh.
those teachers are unappreciated like
Yes.
crazy.
And a quick little conversation I got into with a friend of mine. It's a sports group on Facebook. We were talking about these athletes, with these $100 million contracts for shoes, and they're getting paid $15 million a year for 4 years. And I thought, we've kind of got it wrong. Our teachers should be making that kind of money. Our teachers should be. You look at other societies around the world, and teachers are on a very high level within their societies and how they live. We've got it backwards, man.
Hey, she's back. She's walking by again.
You got to watch her.
I know it.
She's a little windy.
Didn't even hear.
Don't get the wrong idea, folks.
No. That's not what we meant by that. But
my.
But yeah, again, the teacher's underappreciated for sure. But man,
Yes,
you've got a big season coming up.
You all right, Joel?
I'm good.
Love what you're doing this year, and we're going to do everything we can to help you meet that $10,000 goal. And I think that it's gonna be exceeded. I really do.
Well, I appreciate you guys being behind this, and everybody else that's
there's
come
your
by the booth
teammate,
today,
your partner, right there.
Well,
Speak of the
Lauren
devil.
and Bell right there. Those guys. Those guys went and had dinner and come back to look at cars already.
So he goes to dinner and doesn't even say, "Hey, we're going to dinner. Want me to bring you something?" Come on, Cruzy.
Yeah, what's up with
Fat
that?
kid over here is losing weight.
This guy?
No,
Yeah.
me.
You forget how long I've known you.
I know, but
You ever tell these guys a story about Timmy Cramlett pulling you down the road on the 10-speed bicycle?
I try to keep that one in the vault, but we can talk about it if you want.
That's hilarious. So when he was a little kid, he lived on the same street as Timmy Cramlett and I. And Timmy talked him into tying a rope on the front of his big wheel and towing him down Milton Street.
When we were at that the church parking lot, and the curb was like
Milton and Williams there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
The curb was like a racetrack. So Cramlett's on his 12-speed, and he's got me on my 3-wheel big wheel. And man, I'll tell you what, I was 5 or 6. I'm Don Wilson. I was Don Wilson on that thing. I'm sliding. He's towing me on this. We got an inner tube. It wasn't a rope. It was an inner tube.
Oh dear Lord!
Yes, it was a long inner tube, and he's sliding me around the corners, and I'm Don Wilson, man. I'm hooked up until the left rear hooked the curb. It was all over. It's a 90-degree summer day, and I'm wearing a tank top and shorts, and flipped that thing and rolled across that parking lot.
You went from
That
Don Wilson
explains
to
it.
Steve Moore in one lap.
That was
a
a
road rash?
That was my first case of Dane Bramage. That's where it all started.
He checked himself off pretty quick, though.
Well, he had to. His dad wouldn't let him pout.
Yeah, that's true.
We all know the history.
Yeah, it was.
oh man!
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
My dad, you know what my dad said? I'll tell you exactly what he said. What my grandpa used to say to him. You got to be tough to live in the West. That's exactly what he said. But
That's where I got that. I still say that to this day.
My dad said, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. That's
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Clumsy people.
You'd go, huh?
Well, Lauren, we were just talking about you a little bit ago.
Yeah.
We were talking about our partnership in this modified and what we're doing for you for the B mod this year.
We're talking you guys up, no doubt.
Yeah.
And you deserve it.
Steve Moore's kind of a tough old boy, so he said, "Well, we're not going to run Wairika on that first race this year." And I'm like going, So I guess we're going to take the sport mod down there, right?
Yeah, we'll figure out one way to get that race under our belts for the first part of Speed
And
Week.
what's the date of that race? That's the first race of Speed Week?
That's the first race of Speed Weeks.
Okay. Well, we're going to try to get down there and watch that because I'm kind of excited to watch you in that modified. I love watching the Nova and the Street Stock. I mean, you put on one heck of a show, Cruzy.
That was a really bad moment. I mean, the rescue team came out and they were like, "Lauren, you got to get out of the car." I'm like, I don't want to get out of the car. Because I knew it was gone.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
I was sitting in a big taco.
That's the sad
You
part. That
basically were.
that was a really, really good race car, and to
It
see
was.
that happen to that car was just a shame. But you bounced back, and you came right back out the next week with another car.
Well, 2 weeks later, Kyle,
2 weeks.
Kyle ran my number for 2 weeks.
That's right.
What a great guy, and God kept me in a great points race. Turned out to be a great champion. Mikey did. What the epitome of doing the right thing all year, showing up, going through adversity. Taking what she can get. I mean, I'm just really proud of her. I mean, she did a great job. And as soon as our first heat race of the season last year, I was chasing Chris Sign-Down. It was actually a trophy dash.
Yes.
First time fast qualifier.
I remember it.
Ended up, Chris spun in front of us. We jumped up to go around him and took out a right wheel bearing, hit a Camaro. And, as soon as that happens and you're make a main event, your season's done. It's such a tight race, I mean, you don't miss a main. You know,
Yeah, that's a tough
you
division.
can't.
If you
It
miss
is.
one, it can
They're
ruin your
all
whole year.
tough, Corey.
Yeah.
I mean, to see that. I read on this guy's car down here.